Talks Tone. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast. Oh, let's turn the do not disturb on. I always forget to do this. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. This is a podcast that we do every week. Just chatting about stuff. About a month or two ago, I did a video called No Such Thing as a Stupid Question. And we are going to do volume 2 of that. Figured I'd do it live. I would do it with you, and then that way we can have interaction and conversation about these various kind of YouTube comments and stuff that have come up over the last couple of months. I want to say thank you to everybody who subscribes and likes and watches these videos. Last night we surpassed 90,000 subscribers, which is really cool. If you are not a subscriber to the channel, please hit that button. I'm trying to get to 100. Obviously, that would be a major milestone because actually the percentage of channels that is over 100,000 is pretty small. We're really grateful to be where we are. And we're always trying to grow and get better. And it does help to have the numbers because it gives us more opportunities to do cool stuff with various companies and stuff. So, we appreciate everybody that does subscribe. 60% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. So we do appreciate you a lot. Anyway, so we're going to get into some of these here questions. One of the cool parts about the video yesterday, I think there's probably 10,000 views on that video in the first day, which for my stuff, that's a lot. I got an email from Sweetwater this morning. They were like, we really like your video. Thanks for making it. And they want to do some stuff with us. So yeah, that's why it's important. That's why, even though I don't focus on the numbers much these days, the numbers do matter. So I appreciate it. So we can have some opportunities. Thanks to all of our Patreon supporters, all of our YouTube subscribers, everybody who uses super chats, super thanks. We appreciate all of you. And yeah, cool. So everybody that uses the links, buys pickups at Dylan Talks Tone, that's it. Okay, so basically, we have our Q&A thing on Thursday. But those are like guitar technical questions. We get a lot of comments on YouTube. I try to read most of them. And we'll get into some of this today, but some of this stuff is funny. Some of this stuff is not funny. Some of this stuff is it necessary? I'm not sure. We're going to have conversations about all of it as we go. If you have a guitar question, put a bunch of question marks in front of it. I'll try to get to it, but we have a lot of these. If you use a super chat, I'll drop what I'm doing and we'll take care of your question right away. So I guess we should just get started, right? The first one. So I'm going to pay for a setup only for it to still potentially go a little off due to shipping. So this was on our video yesterday about the Sweetwater setup thing. This is a valid concern, right? If you do pay for, I think it's $100, 75 or 100, I can't remember. If you pay for that and then you have the guitar sent to your house, it's possible that the setup would be a little bit different. What you are actually paying for, in my opinion, though, with that setup is a properly cut nut and nice string height adjustments. If you have to give the truss rod an 1/8 of a turn or probably an 1/8 of a turn this time of year, then that's probably no big deal. People are really afraid of truss rod adjustments, but you're only going like this much. You're not going to hurt anything. If it's buzzing, loosen it an 1/8. If it's a little high, tighten it an 1/8, and you'll probably be just fine. So, yeah, it can move a little bit, but it won't undo all the cool things like having the nut cut properly. To me, that's what you're really paying for. Let's see. Awesome video. Is the setup different than having the guitar plecked? Now, this was a great question. So for $300, you can pay to have the guitar plecked, and then they include a setup in that, I believe, if I read that right. Plecking and setting up are two different things. Plecking is A CNC machine, a Plek machine, is a CNC machine that basically levels and crowns your frets to I believe it's a 1/10 of a millimeter tolerance. Far better than any human being can do. If anybody says that they can do a fret job better than a Plek machine, they're lying to you, because a Plek machine, when properly run and properly done, it will do things that a human being cannot do. It also will cut the nut. So, but it is not a full setup. You still have to set the guitar up when you're done. You know, set the string height, set the neck relief, set all that stuff. And you kind of do that because this thing can actually do a lot of this stuff. It checks it under tension, it checks it off of tension, it checks all that stuff. So it's kind of part of the process to do a setup with it. So $300 also, by the way, is a very reasonable price to have this done. I don't know if you know this or not, but those things are like $200,000. So they're not going to do it for $50. Okay. It's a piece of equipment that you have to pay for. You know, somehow. So, but I think it's a very good thing. If that's something that you want to do, I would definitely recommend getting it done. But it's fret work. It's making sure that your frets are perfectly flat. I would personally do it on made in Mexico guitars, Fenders. I would do it on American Fenders. Allegedly, Gibsons are plecked. My Gibsons have never had fret issues. Every Fender I've bought in the last, I posted a picture the other day. Every Fender I bought in the last 2 or 3 years has, even if the frets aren't bad, they're very ugly. So this thing could definitely clean that stuff up for you. So if the guitar's not plecked from the factory, it might be worth doing. Even on an inexpensive guitar. Didn't Phil do a video about doing it on an inexpensive guitar? You know, obviously it's an investment, but just something to think about. Let's see. Sweetwater quoted $700 plus to refret stainless steel on my telly. Laughing face. I assume this is a derogatory comment, like you think that's too much money, but it's not. You know, a good fret job is $400 in 2023. I mean, I've called around. When you start to do stainless, you are ruining tools. You are having to buy a separate set of tools just to do stainless, and it takes at least twice as long to do a stainless fret job properly. And you want a stainless steel fret job to be done properly. If it is not done properly, it will be worse than a nickel fret job, because it's something that you can't really fix very easily once you get it home, unless you know what you're doing. So make sure, personally, I would never buy one of those cheap guitars with stainless steel frets. I would always buy stainless steel frets only from somebody who you know that they're good. You know, Ernie Ball, for example. I would not buy a cheap import guitar with stainless steel frets on it. You're just asking for trouble. Does Sweetwater offer plecking? Yes, they do, actually. All right. Let's see. Next dumb question. So many of these videos, not one of them using a spectrum analyzer. This is interesting. So, Plek machine doesn't crown or dress frets and is dependent on exact specs of the guitar. I wouldn't argue with Phil, but I've been told differently, and I saw it happen in person. So maybe he knows something I don't. Maybe I know something he does. I don't know. That's an interesting comment to make. I'm not sure. Excuse me. So many of these videos, not one of them using a spectrum analyzer. Here's the thing. People put so much thought and mental energy into A/B tests and want to hear this teeny little difference. For what reason? If you cannot hear a difference, then why do you need to see a difference? We have a hard enough time trying to get people to just listen and enjoy without buying with their eyes as it is. So if you can't tell the difference between two pickups, or you can't tell the difference between two capacitors, or you can't tell the difference between whatever, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your guitar. It's just what you can hear. We all, when sound waves go into our ear holes, we all hear things a little bit differently. If you cannot hear that difference, there's no reason for you to see a graph of it. It would be a waste of energy and a waste of time for me to make a graph that shows you the difference between two things that you couldn't hear the difference, and then introduce another decision point into your decision making that you didn't need before, when you should just really be playing guitar. That's why I don't do that stuff. I mean, why make it harder? You know? Oh, I like this one. Handmade versus factory built guitars and parts. Just going to say that we talked about this on a podcast a couple months ago. Building a guitar is not rocket science. Who are we kidding here? Obviously, sir. 331TB7 or whatever your name is. You've never tried. I would recommend something that when we do these guitar workshops with Texas Toast Guitars, and we out in Colorado, and we do pickup winding courses, something that kind of overarchingly goes through the entire, kind of the entire overarching thing through the entire community that participates, not that comments about it on the internet, but the ones that actually participate, is they never again will complain about how much a guitar costs or how much pickups cost. Because once you understand, even when a CNC machine is used, how many hours goes into building a guitar and what the particulars are, what measurements need to be done, how much sanding needs to be done, where thousandths of an inch matter on a piece of wood, all these things, and one step could be done wrong and the guitar could be completely just suck for its entire life and never be fixable because of one mistake. Same thing with pickups. You know, this is 43 gauge wire. It's thinner than your hair. You know, try to wind it by hand and let me know how you do, with no learning or no understanding or no appreciating of the work that goes into it. After you do this kind of stuff, you will never, ever complain again about a guitar that costs $2,000, unless you're just one of those, you know, price shoppers who does that. Let's see. Hang on. Let me 2202. Let me delete these as I do them, because here we go. Could you do an episode purely to elaborate on Harley Benton being the most unethical brand? Not to hate on Harley Benton, I just think it's good for everyone to properly understand why you feel that's the case. We have pretty much covered that subject ad nauseum. It's something that I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on anymore. And the reason is because those guitars, as you know, inexpensive guitars, sometimes they really, well, first of all guitars, wherever they come from, have a place in the market, right? They do. And I wouldn't, here's the problem. When you single out a brand like that, which I have many times, and I don't feel bad about doing it. The users of that brand, it's weird how people take stuff personal. Like on Facebook today, I just said I wasn't a fan of the Beatles, and I thought I had stabbed somebody's mother. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm just not a fan. I respect their history, and I think it's amazing that they did what they did when they did it. And I don't disrespect anybody else who's a fan, but I did not stab your mother by saying I'm not a fan of the Beatles. It's the same thing with this Harley Benton stuff. I have a lot of reasons for not liking it, but I didn't stab your mother, dude. Like, you can buy those if you want. And I hope that you do, because you know why? The pickups suck, and I'd love for you to order some. Like, cheap guitars are cool. I do have some problems with that company. I do, but it's neither here nor there because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Um, yeah, it's just kind of one of those deals. All right. This one is an interesting one. Not everyone is a genius such as yourself. Thanks for assuming so, but I am not. Definitely. Some kids or some new guitar players are still learning. I believe that it's lame for you. Do not take the time to answer some questions by your subscribers, and for that reason, I unsubscribed. I've asked a couple questions and got no response. Maybe it's because I'm dumb. Surely you're not dumb. I thought maybe it was just me, but I checked the replies and I haven't found a single reply made by you. If you want, you can block me, but it's unnecessary because I will not be making any more comments here. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Has it really? So, we have a couple of ways that you can have specific questions answered. As you can imagine, I cannot spend all day in the comments answering questions because we had to make like 20 pickups today. We have to make like 20 pickups tomorrow, and I have to shoot videos, and we have to do live streams, and we have to do things. Our schedule is very full. So we have a couple of ways that you can ask legitimate questions. We're having fun with this today. Like, this is just fun. But if you have a legitimate question about a product, okay, about a guitar pickup that you're trying to order something from me or something, you can go to the Dylan Talks Tone website and you can use the chat and I will answer that question about that product. If you send me a message on that website, on that chat, and it's like, do you have a wiring diagram for X or Y? I have a problem with my guitar. Can you help me fix it? Chances are I will not answer those questions because we get so many of them that there's just no way for me to possibly do that. If you are a person who is sincerely interested in getting those questions answered, there's a couple of things you can do. You can hang out with us on our live stream on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we will answer those questions. Or you can hang out with these ones too, and we'll try to get to them. We might not today, but a lot of times we do. You can use a super chat. You can become a Patreon member if you can't make it to the live stream thing, so you make sure that your question gets answered. And I appreciate all of you who appreciate and value my time as well. And that's something that you can do. I did look through the comments and you did ask a couple of questions and you were extremely rude about it. And so, I hate to lose you as a viewer. Hopefully you'll come back. You probably will. That's usually how this stuff works. All right. Let's see. User MW. So he must want to know who he is. Hey dude, learn to play the guitar. Learn to play before evaluating guitars. Your comments have no meaning. Thanks, man. I appreciate the comment. I appreciate the interaction. YouTube likes the algorithm. And I hope that you feel better about yourself. I'm actually not a very good guitar player. We all know that. I've spent most of my life concentrating on the other side of the table. So, listening from the engineering booth, from mixing, from recording, that kind of stuff. That's where my dad taught me to do a lot of stuff. He's like, if you play music live, you're going to end up dead in a van with a needle in your arm or something. So concentrate on the technical side of it. And so that's what I did. And so I know my way around a guitar, but most importantly, I know what I'm hearing. If you tell me I need to hear a certain thing or I want to try to hear a certain thing, that's what I'm better at. And so that's why I make pickups, actually. And it is why I am not a touring musician because it's just not one of those things that I really care about that much. I mean, I love playing, but I'd rather do this. I'd rather be good at this. I always tell people I'm better at making you sound good than I am at making me sound good. Ison said, "What's up, Dylan? Just checking in with you." Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that very, very much. Let's see. Yeah, never been a fan of the Beatles that much. So you have a life outside of YouTube? Though comment creators last. Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't think people realize how much time. I mean, this is to. It's funny. Okay, so you'll see me in front of a camera, right? Like for an hour today. You'll see me 2 hours on Thursday, and you'll see me for what 15 minutes on Monday, maybe, and 15 minutes on Friday. Well, those hours. So what is that? That's half an hour. So that'd be 2 hours. So that's 3 hours a week that you'll see me online. But that's 30 hours of work to do that 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot. And so, yeah, it's a lot. Not to mention all the other man hours that we put in making pickups. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing. Yeah. Oh, hang on. That was the super chat. And what is different about lace sensors? There's no tone comparison here. See, people are really stuck on tone comparisons. You're just a butcher because I cut it in half, remember? Any gear becomes great when some dude has success with it. Oh, is that what make gear better? Is if a famous person plays it, that makes it good? That's interesting. That's an interesting concept. Lace sensors are really cool. People really like them. I'm not a fan. I don't like the way they compress. I don't like the high end, or a lack thereof, really. But they're an interesting technology, and I'm glad that they were invented because they teach us a lot about what can be done with the pickup, and I really do appreciate that they exist. Rusty, would a 500K pot rolled back to where the resistance is 250K sound just like a 250K pot? No, because it's a voltage divider and it will just turn your volume down. So there you go. 5 tele mods under $100. The video is 90% him talking and not about Telecaster upgrades. Newsflash, it's 100% me talking. That's what we do. I have been trying to play more in the videos because I'm having fun doing it. I've been having a lot of fun making these videos. That video I made yesterday was really fun. I really liked making that. Hopefully that comes out in the videos. I really like making some of this stuff. It's really fun. PRS Silver Sky Maple Fretboard. You are wrong. Okay. The SE Maple Neck is better feeling than my cores. So I'm wrong because your guitar. Okay. Got it. A little sanding can work wonders in getting the feel of a neck right for you on a $3,000 or on a $1,000 guitar. Typically you shouldn't have to do that, especially on a sub $1,000. Yeah. Okay. So they're $800 and something dollars. My frets were almost perfect too. So you had a different experience than I did with the Maple Fretboard Silver Sky. That's interesting. I've heard a few people kind of go both ways. That like mine was terrible. It was terrible. It's great now. Also, it's for sale. I fixed it. It's fantastic. My Silver Sky SE is for sale, the purple one. If you want to buy it, get in touch with me and I'll sell it to you. It's great now. But it took some work to get it right. And yeah, so there you go. Oh, let's see. Not that one. I started watching because of the information, but now I only watch for the shorts. I expect you to continue to wear them this winter too. So this was kind of a joke because I wear shorts because I live in Georgia and it's hot. And people laugh at me. And I am not self-conscious about my legs because I'm a cyclist and I have nice legs. So that is just kind of how it is. So there you go. Let's see. I respectfully disagree with you on setup out of the factory. For above $2,000, my guitar better have an action of 175 on the low E. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday. There's a couple factors here. Depending on the guitar's construction, it will move around more or less in shipping. So like a Gibson SG is going to move around a lot. Mahogany necks seem to move more than maple necks, just because of the way the wood is. So they're going to move around some. It's going to happen. Bridge types are definitely a thing. But we also talked about manufacturer specs. And let's bring this up right now too. Somebody in the comments for that video yesterday said, I don't know where you got the spec for Fender being 2 millimeters. You're wrong. It's actually 78 thousandths for 7 1/4 necks, and it's 68 thousandths for 9 1/4, 9.5 and above. So 9.5, 14, whatever. I found that later. So yes, I was wrong about the 2 millimeters, but 78 thousandths is basically just about 2 millimeters. It's still too high. Definitely too high. Gibson is 78 thousandths also. They're 5/64 or 6/64. Maybe it's even more. So, which is over your 1.75 millimeters. That does not mean it's a quality control problem. It means it's the standard that the guitar company has set. That's like you saying, I don't like the wheel well spacing between the tire and the wheel arch on my car. They must have set the ground clearance wrong on my car. No, they designed it that way. If you want to change it, you could lower it. But you have to live with the consequences of the handling performance changes with that vehicle. They set it there. That's what they want. And so that's why we need to take that on ourselves to learn or to pay somebody experienced to set up our guitars. Yeah, I mean, it's, it should be. And on a $2,000 guitar, I think people really, all you folks who need to catch up with inflation. Just saying. Stuff is expensive. A $2,000 guitar is just a normal guitar now. Normal, American-made quality guitar. Even Japanese, even expensive Chinese guitars are $2,000. So a good quality instrument, a really good quality, should be really good quality instrument is $2,000. They're going to come all different specs. They're going to come all different constructions. And it is your job to make the guitar perform how you want it to perform. It's not going to come out of the box perfectly performing for you. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. All right. Respectfully, the original classic vibe pickups sounded better. It's very much a subjective thing. I agree. But I gig my CV Telly with original pickups. I don't believe aftermarket pickups are the first move. It's a bit reactionary. Using a screwdriver to adjust the heights and EQing on the amp or more granularly an EQ pedal will get you what you need. I disagree, and we'll talk about why in a minute. I get that you're selling pickups. I am. But I also feel that you have a responsibility to try and teach people about EQ versus being reactionary and switching out pickups, especially if they don't have the benefit of knowing better. So first of all, I have no responsibility to anyone. I am a person with a camera, and I have no responsibility to anyone except for me and my family. So people that assign a role to someone, it doesn't mean anything, right? Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm just a guy with a camera, right? I appreciate that you think that I should know something, that I should share it with other people, and we will try to be as accurate as possible, but I do not owe anybody anything. Okay. That being said, I will do my best. Not always perfect at it, but I will do my best to give you the most accurate information possible. Okay, so now let's talk about the cheap pickups in Esquire CV. you can use an EQ pedal or the EQ on your amp to accentuate certain frequency ranges that your guitar sound. The problem is that if those frequencies are not there to begin with, you cannot create them. So on a CV classic vibe telly in the neck position, typically the low end is real muffly. And there's really no clarity at all whatsoever. And the mid range is actually sort of scooped. So there's just kind of a weak sounding pickup. Now you can take an EQ and you can push that around, right? But the problem is that your noise floor is going to go up, because when you amplify a sound that isn't really there, you create noise. And creating noise is the last thing you want to do, especially in the high end with a Telecaster neck pickup, because it's going to be noisy. That will then be accentuated when you throw it through a preamp like a boost or a drive or something like that. If the guitar pickup is not making a frequency effectively, and every guitar pickup has a resonant peak, which is the peak of it's the frequency that pickup is the best at making. And if it's way over here and you want it to make this sound, it's just not going to do it. Now you can boost all you want with your EQ, but since the sound's not really there, you're not ever really going to get what you want, unless that sound is what you want. Obviously, if you want different than what I want, that's okay. That's totally fine. But I am not misleading people in saying that if a pickup does not make that particular sound, we can't just put it in. The biggest potential of a pickup is literally the pickup, wires, output jack. Everything else is parasitically robbing frequencies from that as we add it to the circuit. So volume pots, tone pots, capacitors, the whole deal. So everything we add after that until our first preamp is parasitically stealing frequencies from the guitar, including the guitar cable. So if it's not there to begin with, by the time it gets to the first preamp, it's already lost even more. So it's just something that we need to think about it a little bit different, a little bit holistically, more holistically when we look at the guitar. Super chat from Keith. Thank you so much. Thank you for always answering all my dumb questions. Dude, thank you so much. You bumped your mic and it's unplugged. No, it's working. Okay, there we go. The connector on my mic is getting a little bit iffy, so I apologize. Yeah, I bumped it. All right. Let's get into the next thing here, because this is fun. Okay, we did that one already. Sorry, I can't remember which ones I did. Myth busted. Does raising the tailpiece on a Les Paul kill sustain? I know that low action kills tone and sustain. That's an interesting one. There are a lot of misconceptions around tone and sustain and low action and light strings. The bottom line is, in my opinion, when you look at how an electric guitar works, this is not my opinion actually, light strings are just as good as heavy strings at making tone. Okay. And people that make fun of other people for using light strings need to just go pound sand. I don't even like you. We're not friends. Anybody that calls somebody name or whatever for not wanting to change their own strings, I'm not your friend either. People did that in that other video the other day. I was really disappointed in that. Let's see. So low action is actually preferable because it does a couple of things. One is it keeps you in tune better, because when you press your finger down on the string somewhere on the neck, doesn't matter where, you are actually pulling that string away from its resting pitch. You're actually stretching the string more, which means that your intonation is going to vary depending on where you're on the neck. The further you stretch it from its perfect pitch, the more likely you are to have sympathetic frequencies and weird wolf notes and stuff like that, like ghost notes, various things like that, which kill sustain. If you have two frequencies fighting against each other, they're going to cancel each other out. No, the reason some people feel that tone is killed with light strings or low action is because they can't do it. It's because they are doing it. Your hands are killing your tone because you don't know how to manage light strings and low action. So what I would recommend to you, and this is not a slight on anybody, this is, I think, something that everybody has to go through. And I've said it many times, set up one guitar. If you have the luxury of having more than one electric guitar, set up one of your electric guitars with 7s or 8s on it. Leave it that way for a month and play it for 5 or 10 minutes a day for a month. Even if you don't leave those 7s or 8s on that guitar, it will teach you finger control. It will force you to play differently, and it will help you to understand that you're just a ham-fisted oaf, because we all are. If we go from 10s to 7s, we're just like, oh my God, like I'm pulling the thing out of tune every time I play. I am like totally just completely ham-fisted with this thing. So don't take it as a slight. Take it as a like, oh, I want to learn to do this, and it's going to make me more, it's going to train your trigger finger. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's going to do. It's going to teach you what your fingers are doing. My thing wasn't necessarily the fretting hand. I wasn't pulling stuff out of tune with the fretting hand. I was strumming too hard, and I was hooking strings, and I was definitely killing tone. So low action and light strings kind of fall under the same category because mechanically they change so much and how you interact with the guitar that you can kill your own tone unless you learn how to manage it. And I would definitely try, just for an experiment. It's like I said, a lot of this stuff's not a slight on anybody. It's just nobody's ever really tried, not nobody, but a lot of people have never tried 8s because they think they can't do it, because they think they can't play a certain thing. Everybody can. I'm a human being. You're a human being. I can do it. So can you. End of story. You're probably a better guitar player than me anyway. So try it. And it will teach you. It's just like, been teaching my daughter at the range, and okay, this is a pistol thing, but let me just hear me out. The problem with shooting a pistol is actually not your trigger finger. A lot of times it's the fact that because our muscles in our hands are connected to our other fingers, that we actually will move our other fingers inadvertently while we're moving this finger. See, like I just did. See how and you have to learn that control. It's the same with very small movements. It's the very same thing with a guitar. When you move this hand, you're affecting your pinky finger and vice versa. When you use your pinky finger, see there? I'm moving my other fingers. So your interaction with the guitar, when you squeeze or don't squeeze enough, your hands are changing everything. And so your string weight and your action are going to change everything. This is a long time to spend on this. This is a long time to spend on this point, but I think it's a really important thing. Interaction with the instrument is the number one most important key to tone, in my opinion. A well set up guitar and your physical interaction with that guitar, number one most important thing. Besides pickups. I'm just kidding. It is. To me, it's the most important thing. Really cool thing to think about. I can't play SGs because I pull too hard with my fretting hand and I whack it out of tune constantly. So this is okay. So let's talk about this. Why? Why is that happening? So if you're playing an SG, it's possible that you have the position on your body is wrong for the guitar. I'm not saying play it like a jazz player, like right up here around your neck, but maybe it's a little too low, because SGs have a tendency to want to slide headstock down. So change the position of the guitar on you, change maybe the style of strap so that you can do that. And put a lighter set of strings on it so that you can teach yourself to play differently. Also, shorter scale guitars, 24/7/5 scale guitars, have a lower string tension, so therefore they are going to be more susceptible to this. So this is an interaction thing with the guitar. Use it as a learning. Don't say I can't, but use it as a learning experience to be like, okay, I'm definitely playing on the guitar. That means I need to figure out some sort of control problem with this hand. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, it's going to make all of us, a better guitar player if we master that. I think it's a fundamental thing that not enough people talk about. I know I've gone on and on about this now for 10 or 15 minutes, but I think it's a really important thing. Let's see. Roasted maple necks. Are they a gimmick? Not convinced about roasted necks. Sure, it's more stable, but it's also more brittle. A properly cured piece of neck wood and a stain suffices in the vast majority of these gimmicks. Okay, so roasted maple is not just about the dryness of the wood. So when you roast a maple neck, it does it with heat. So it's not just drying it. If you put wood in a kiln, the temperature is a lot lower, and you are sucking moisture out of the guitar. Okay, so you're literally sucking the moisture out. You're dehydrating it, if you will. We're making guitar neck jerky. Okay, so we're like dehydrating it out. When you are roasting a neck, it's more like you're caramelizing an onion. And I know that sounds dumb, but the moisture that's in the neck is actually like sap and stuff. It's actually semi-solids. There's some crystalline stuff in there. And when you roast the neck, you're solidifying that stuff. It stays in there, but it solidifies. So the thing becomes stiffer and harder and more dense. And we'll get to the brittle part in a minute because it's true. But a kiln dried piece of wood will never be exactly the same as a roasted neck because you're doing two different things. We're pulling moisture out of one and we're actually solidifying the other. That's why it's called torrefying. So where the brittleness comes in is because those wood fibers now are hard. They're not as soft and pliable. So like when you drill a hole, sometimes you don't see this when you drill a hole in a piece of wood, but those fibers will kind of like close back up a little bit. They like get out of the way of the drill bit. You remove some material, you pull the drill bit out, and they sort of relax. With a torrefied piece of wood, it won't do that because you've actually sheared off the brittleness, and you can strip screws. You can, if the tuner holes are not drilled properly, you can crack a peg head if they're too tight. So don't ever bang on one. Don't ever try to really push tuners into a torrefied neck, a roasted neck. But beyond those two things, once the nut is in the guitar and everything's fine and it's fit properly, and once the tuners are in and it fits properly, you'll never have a problem with that neck. It's not like you're going to crack it. It's not like you're going to break it. It's not like you're going to strip screws out because you're taking tuners in and out of your guitar all the time. This is a one-time thing. You put the thing together. If you are successful, and if you do it properly, you will be. It will never be a problem for you, and it will always be more stable than a kiln dried piece of wood in that situation. Yeah. Cool question. I mean, I get why people think it's a gimmick. I think the reason people think it's a gimmick is because it costs more. Anything that costs more because it takes more time and requires other technology automatically gets lumped into the gimmick category, but there's a real reason for it. All right. I think we got one more. Hex core versus round core in a guitar string, which is better? Hex sounds objectively worse. The only reason they're standard is because it's cheaper and easier to produce. This is actually not true. The hex core is actually harder to make than a round core. The reason it's not that they're cheaper to produce. They are more stable because the winding grips onto the hex core, but that also makes them a little stiffer because the winding can't slip on the core. And that is also why the sound changes a little bit. Do they sound objectively worse? I think you're getting objective and subjective, those two words mixed up. Just saying. Check a dictionary. Yeah, no, I think it's cool. All right. Anyway, well, that was all of them. We made it through all of them. This is super fun. Let's see if we missed a couple of questions. I think we might have. People talking about tuning. Let's see. High pickup close to strings equal louder sound. Low pickup equals quiet sound. How to use a multimeter output to measure the difference in pickup height. You actually would use an oscilloscope to do that, but it's really overthinking it. The other thing is that your frequency response changes as you pull it away. Because the magnetic field is being moved differently. So it's not just about the loud versus quiet. The frequency response actually changes. Yeah. Just get a Fender and start rocking, dude. I ordered one. It's not here yet. It's taking a while. It is taking a while. I actually talked to Sweetwater this morning about it. I'm like, where is my guitar? Yep. Let's see. So a lot of people are using lighter strings. That's cool, man. There's a few people in here saying they use 8s before. Yeah. Roasted maple smells better. You can smell the tone. Hey, man, I get it. Is it worth having an EO34 amp for voicing pickups in addition to my 6L6 and 6V6 amps? I tell you what, EO34 tones are way different. The top end is so much different. I say just get a Tone X so that you can switch back and forth. That's what I do. That's one of the reasons why I have a modeler, is so that I can try different guitar tones. And then I have a 6L6 amp that I go back to that's actually tubes that I actually go back to for my personal reference, but at least I can reference those other sounds. Doesn't roasted maple also go through kiln drying if it's a good company? Yeah, they're two different processes. If you weren't limited to the standard pickup form factors, what would your ground up design choice be? I would not tell you on a live stream. I don't have any questions about guitars. I'm just here for the party. No, I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. No, this was super fun. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out. I like doing these. I like doing We'll do them every once in a while, probably once every couple months. I'll do a dumb questions. No such thing as dumb questions. Oh, we got a super chat from Dog Boy. What pickups would you use to replace the stock pickups on my 40th anniversary Squire Strat? We have a set called the Flat 6 Tele pickups, and they are based on a mid 60s setup, but better setup for the modern guitar that is your 40th anniversary. It's what I put in my 40th anniversary guitar, and it's really good. We have them on the website. We actually have a drop-in set. You can actually order the wiring and the pickups, and it all comes together, and all you have to do is solder the pickups to the wiring. It all drops in, and it all fits. I know because I checked it on mine. Yeah, super cool. Oh, you bought a Headrush core. Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch, you guys. This has been great, and we will see you probably on Thursday for our live Q&A with Leslie. And then I've got a video queued up for Friday, and I've got one that I'm working on for Monday, and we are just going to keep on cranking. So thank you, everybody. Thanks to everybody for subscribing, because 100,000 subscribers is on the way. Please do that. That would be awesome. Cool, man. We'll see you Thursday.